right. Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 7 of the Creative Pause. I am Susan, and I am here with my co-host, who I will allow to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Stacey with Stacey Faye Designs Jewelry. Good to be with you all today. And we're very excited to have today cover food and cooking.
Yes, definitely. So, with the Creative Pause, we decided to create this web series these videos, basically from being in a time of solitude and fear. We wanted to make something that inspired joy and creativity and connection. So that is what we're doing today with our guest, who goes by Health Chef Julia. And Julia is going to be doing some cooking for us today. But before we dive into all of that, we would love to know how everybody's doing today. If you are watching this live, we strongly encourage you to participate by writing into the chat. If you are watching the recording of this, we would love for you to take a minute and just journal about it. Or, Stacey has some great suggestions that I would love her to share.
Yeah, so we always say when we get to this why portion, that do whatever is going to help you release that, how you're doing, basically, whether that's screaming it out there or writing it down or maybe checking in with a friend today, on FaceTime or something, just to sort of share how you're doing. Because for all of us, this varies day to day. And it's important, I think, to ask the question each day so we can, sort of just take tabs on how we're all doing and share that around. So I guess I can start in terms of how am I doing, and if all of you listening in can take a moment too. So yeah, today I'm a little off. I have I think I said this last Monday that I had a case of the Mondays, but I definitely, it's a day where I just feel a little off and don't totally know why. And Susan had mentioned it's a full moon tonight, and so maybe that's why my energy is sort of different than normal. But yeah, just trying, my energy is lower today. I'm not feeling awesome. So I'm trying to take it one step at a time, and excited that today's episode deals with cooking, because that's one of the ways lately that it's helped to lift me out of a space where I'm maybe not feeling so great. But yeah, that's honestly how I'm doing today.
Yeah, I have to agree, Stacey, especially with what you were saying about cooking. I've been finding that, being a creative person and not being able to create in ways that I'm used to creating, like with styling and personal styling, I found that I'm like really craving it in other areas of my life, and cooking and baking, especially for like my son and my husband, is something that I'm like, yay, like I get to help people and I get to create and make something. So I've been baking like quite a bit, which has been awesome for everybody. We'll see how it all turns out when we're like released back into the wild of the outside world, but for now it's fun. In terms of how I'm doing, yeah, my energy levels are low today, which is a shame because it's, bright and sunny and beautiful outside, and normally like that lifts me up, but like just energetically I feel off, and I do feel like it's probably something going on with the full moon or with the planets, something that's like throwing me off. But Julia, how are you doing, my dear? Love to hear from you.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I agree with both of you guys. I am off today. As much as, yes, it is beautiful outside and it's spring weather and it's getting warmer, there's something about the fact that it's another Monday in quarantine that is kind of not sitting great with me. And I feel like I have been putting so much on my plate to stay busy, to not have like the crash and the dark feelings of quarantine. But I think it's hit me, and today it's been rough to kind of have the motivation to do things. But it's going to get better because I'm going to teach everyone how to make cabbage lentil rolls, and we're all going to be healthy and nutrient dense. But yeah, other than that, we're getting there.
Yes, and I'm excited. I cannot wait for you to, show us how to make such delicious things. So another part of our beginning portion of the show involves sharing a quote or reading that kind of ties into our episode. So I am going to prepare that and get that up so everybody can see it. So of course we wanted something food related today. So Stacey, you want to read that for us?
Yeah, so James Beard has said that food is our common ground, a universal experience. I think it's how we show love to ourselves, we show love to others, and at this time, mainly our family. But I think it's absolutely a universal experience across the world.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. I couldn't agree more.
Yay. Well, good. I'm happy to hear that. All right. So it's time for Miss Julia's more formal introduction. And as I'm introducing her, I'll let her also get situated in her kitchen. But Julia, their business name being Health Chef Julia, is a health and wellness consultant. She's a private chef. She's a restaurant owner, and she just develops these wonderful programs for both individuals and organizations that really help them get on a curated path to wellness and well-being that can really help them with all of their goals. So I was introduced to Julia by a good friend of mine who is a makeup artist in Philadelphia. And when, I told her about the show that Stacey and I were creating, she's like, you have to reach out to Julia. And as soon as I did, it was wonderful. And Julia is another fellow Bucks County girl, born and raised, and is now no longer a Bucks County resident, as am I. So it's just funny that we had that other little something in common.
Yes. Well, thank you. That was a wonderful introduction. So I noticed that there's certain things that everybody has in their pantry, or at least can get easily. And I feel like those four to five things are lentils, onions or garlic, cabbage, and tomato sauce. We definitely have some form of that or have easy access to those things. And something that people don't know is that lentils are a huge, huge source of protein. Not only will they keep you fuller longer, they're sustainable for the environment, they're super healthy, super nutritious, nutrient dense, and it kind of, while we're all at home, we need to be more aware of what we're putting in our bodies. We're not as on the go anymore. So maybe now is a time where we cut back on our constant meat consumption or processed food consumption and kind of take a step back and think about what we're eating, what we're putting in our bodies, and how we could do it in a more nutritious, wholesome, whole foods, and maybe more organically sourced products. So something super simple to make is cabbage lentil rolls. And all you need to do, so I cooked lentils the night before. What I did was I sauteed some onions and garlic, then sea salt, a bay leaf, some black pepper. I added the lentils in, and then I covered it with chicken broth. You can also use veg broth or water, whatever you have at home. But it's basically going to look like this. Does not look super appetizing right now, but it will. And then you take an entire head of cabbage in a separate pot, and I'll use this as an example. This is a, small kitchen. Mini cabbage. Basically, you're going to cut the end off, put it into a pot of hot water, and let it boil for maybe like 15 to 20 minutes until it's fully soft. And then what you notice, once you take the cabbage out and let it cool, the leaves are just going to peel right off in full sheets. And when they do, it looks like this. And they're like more pliable. They're a little softer and they're easier to fold. So I'm taking 2 metal pans because I'm in a tiny kitchen and I'm actually delivering this batch tomorrow to a hospital in New York City. I'm making 2 of these for the nurse's station. So you're gonna pour, I love Rayo's. So I'm just gonna pour a thin layer at the bottom of the pan and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay. Then we'll start by getting food gloves on because, you know, corona, germs, wash your hands. In case you haven't heard that 10,000 times today. So I'll show you guys. So this is like a full cabbage leaf. Basically, you want to put it in your palm and the curved side will fit perfectly into your palm. So that's where you're going to put the lentils. So you scoop lentils directly into the center. And you take both sides, and it's kind of like a burrito. And you just roll both sides down, and you roll it into a little mini burrito. And let me just do 4 really, really quickly, and I'll show you what it would look like in the pan. So you let your lentils cool, you let your cabbage cool. This is easy to make like the night before and then prep the next day. And you can also freeze this really, really well.
And how long did you cook those lentils for to get them?
I cook the lentils about 30 minutes.
Okay.
So they don't have to be super, super soft because they're going back into the oven. So if you're a little worried like, oh, what if my lentils are too dense? It's absolutely fine because it'll continue cooking in the oven. So you just keep kind of doing this. It's almost like you're filling lasagna or like shells, right? But instead, you're introducing your family to something more nutritious, less preservatives, a whole food, a great source of protein. This is really good for people with low iron and people who are trying to, you know, eat more plant-based and be more cautious of what they're eating and how they're eating. And you'll notice that 3 of these lentil rolls are so dense and so filling that a whole tray will last you probably 2 to 3 dinners, depending on how many people you have in your family. But let me just write this down now. So you're going to fill the tray all the way, line them up, and then you put it a little bit more tomato sauce on top, and you're going to pop it in the oven at 325 for about 35 minutes. And it's going to be awesome. You can even top it with some cheese if you want that like cheesy flavor at the end. But if you want to stay more plant-based and maybe use this as your meatless Monday dinner idea, all of this, 1 head of cabbage is about $1.99. A 16-ounce bag of lentils is under $4.99. An onion, let's say it's 50 cents. And then a can of tomato sauce is also, let's say, for $5 if we're buying like real fancy tomato sauce. So all in all, this entire meal is under $15, and it's so great right now, especially for people who, like me, I have no work currently. You know what I mean? I can't go to people's homes and cook for them. My only current work is social media, collaborating with people like you guys, and kind of executing and planning for the months ahead of where my work could be. And now it's pretty much all virtual and teaching people via Zoom or Instagram. So I find this to be super fun and super therapeutic. And I like to put music on. But let me try and move my laptop down so you guys can see the whole process of how I fill. So once again, cabbage, lentils, about 2 spoonfuls. Flip one side, flip the other, and roll. And it's okay if it kind of comes undone because it will seam itself while it's baking.
So Julia, when I know you said that these are great to freeze too, when you're planning on serving them after they're frozen, would you recommend putting them back into the oven, or how would you suggest that?
So if you freeze them, if you bake them and freeze them, or if you just make them and freeze them, either way, pop them in the oven, 325, 350, anywhere from 25 to 45 minutes, depending on how frozen they are, if you've thawed them out at all, and depending on your oven, right? Because everyone's ovens run differently.
Yeah.
My apartment oven tends to turn off halfway through.
Oh no.
So hence I am not the world's best baker, but I can cook savory.
And we also had a question in the chat wondering if there were alternatives to the cabbage for the wrap portion.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, if you have zucchini works really well, but the trick with having zucchini not fall apart on you is using a mandolin. So you want to get those super, super thin slices that are even, and the best way to get that is through a mandolin. So you would take an entire zucchini, pass it through the mandolin, and then you get long strips. And then you can just do mini rolls in the same kind of pan. They won't be like closed envelopes, but it would just be like zucchini rolls. You can also use, you can do a squash actually, and cut it down the middle, take the seeds out, put the lentils in the center of where the seeds were, and roast the entire squash that way. So then you have roasted squash on one end and roasted sauteed lentils at the end.
That sounds so good. All of these options, I'm like, I want to do that. I want to do that.
If you did the zucchini, do you have to cook the zucchini or you just do raw and?
Raw, because it will, but be mindful, you have to cut the zucchini super thin because the zucchini releases a lot of water. To have it release less water, you can get a pot of water boiling, add sea salt to it, and as it's on a rolling boil, quickly blanch and shock the zucchini strips. So basically what that means is, hold on, blanching and shocking means dumping into boiling water for 35, 45 seconds, and then you take out the zucchini and you put it in an ice bath so that it stops the cooking process, but it gets the zucchini ribbons to that soft texture so you can roll them and they won't snap. And you can also do that with like ground turkey or ground beef and kind of make an alternative lasagna instead of pasta. You can just layer the strips of zucchini. But leave about a 1/4 inch at the top of your pan. Like, don't do your zucchini or anything that you do with, don't do your lasagna or any dish that you do with zucchini to the very top of the pan or the top of the baking sheet, because it gives off so much moisture that like water and condensation will build at the top and could possibly spill over in your oven. So I would leave like a little lip.
Such a good tip. Thank you. I love zucchini.
I'm done rolling. I've got 2 more to go, and then I'll show you guys the final product. Are there any other questions, or do you guys have any cooking questions that you want answered?
I was going to ask, this is more about this specific recipe than cooking in general, but do you typically, when you make these for yourself or at home, do you add, aside from the cheese, anything else into this to add more flavor or substance to the
So to
cabbage
the
roll?
lentils, I do. I like to add a lot of herbs and spices. So I'll do like a bay leaf. I'll do cracked black pepper. I'll do I really like herbs de Provence sometimes. Just like any kind of flavor boost because lentils really absorb so much flavor and so much texture that like I think over salting the lentils isn't going to be an issue because it's then wrapped in unsalted cabbage leaves and then like a more milder marinara sauce. So I think over flavor packing the lentils is a great suggestion for this, especially for people who aren't used to eating a more plant-based diet, might not know what to do with themselves when they're eating this. So I think people are shocked that healthy food is still flavorful. So this is what the lentils will look like. Hold on. So you just pop that right in the oven, 325, 350, about 30 minutes. And the cabbage will go nice and toasty. So will the lentils, the marinara, it'll all start to marinate and like become this really great healthy flavor aspect. And if you want to freeze it, you at this stage, it's probably the best to freeze it before. You don't want to like double bake it, so I would just freeze it just like this. And then once you're ready, freeze it in an oven safe vessel so you can just pop it directly into the oven. And another staple that I really recommend having in your kitchen right now is nuts and seeds because they're such a great source of protein. So this morning what I did was I made seedless granola. I made oatless granola. So it's almonds, cashews, peanuts, sesame seeds, hemp seeds, chia seeds, a quarter cup of maple syrup, a tablespoon of vanilla, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I just baked it in a pan for about 20 minutes until they were golden brown. And it creates its own like crunchy granola, but without the oats and without all of the other added sugars that you can find in store-bought granola. And you can snack on this all day long, and it's super nutrient dense and super high in omega-3s and omega-6s, and just a really easy pantry staple to have. And another thing is that people should be definitely reading the labels of their grains. So like, I really like this brand and I really like Thrive Market, but definitely when you're purchasing grains, make sure an added tip would be to get already sprouted ones. It'll be better for digestion and it's better for your gut health to like break them down. And for those that are trying to go more plant-based and say that they can't because they love cheese, I recommend buying nutritional yeast. It's really amazing. It gives you that cheesy flavor, but without the actual dairy products. It's really good on like a broccoli for like a broccoli cheddar soup, but plant-based with this. I definitely think that while we're in quarantine, people should acknowledge that we should be saving the environment a little bit more and maybe moving towards a more sustainable plant-based diet. Not fully, like I'm not trying to take away anyone's like cheat meals or indulgences because we all have them. Like I need a pepperoni pizza right now, but I still think that people should be more mindful and more thoughtful when it comes to their food because now you have the time.
Yeah, thanks for introducing us to the staples. Someone in the audience said, that answered their next question because they were also wondering some staples to sort of have around. Because I think so many of us can't get delivery of food oftentimes any time of the day, and then you don't want to be going out to the store constantly. So the more you can find out staples for the.
Another thing that I highly recommend is getting a nice, good, refined coconut oil. So the reason you want refined is because it won't taste like coconut. That's the problem with cooking with coconut oil, is like everything tastes the same then. It all has that like coconut flavoring, but refined prevents you from having that, and coconut oil is amazing for high heat. If someone can get this brand of Spectrum Oils spray is amazing. They have a coconut oil one, they have an olive oil one, and I think they have a avocado oil and canola oil. Another thing, I am a huge stickler on salt. I can't stand Morton salt, and I can't stand like crystal salt. Like, I need to have sea salt when I'm cooking. So this is a great brand. Also, like pink Himalayan sea salt or anything that's like this is really great. And always having like I always have 3 or 4 oils on hand. I have like a good high-end olive oil, refined coconut oil, and I like to fry all of my foods on sunflower oil. Like, I'll have canola just in case, but sunflower oil is much better of a conductor. It is less harmful in some opinions than canola. But it basically is flavorless, tasteless, and does everything canola does without the overly processed chemicals. And I'm not like ratting on canola. Like, you can get really great high-end canola oil, because some forms of cooking really do need that type of oil, like deep frying or even roasting sometimes, just like that works better with canola. And then one more thing that I highly recommend, these 2 things. Every soup needs a bay leaf. Invest in some bay leaves in your kitchen pantry, because it really heightens the flavor of the soup. And then you just take it out before you eat it. And then I'm really obsessed with herbs de Provence. So basically it's a mix of different salts, right? I mean, a mix of different herbs. So it's thyme, oregano, lavender, and parsley, and tarragon, and basil, and sage. And it's just like a mix of all these great spices. And I love putting this in a dressing or roasting a chicken with this rub. Yeah, and I just think that there's like simple kitchen staples that will then prolong your healthy eating habits. So that's my
awesome. And thanks for breaking down what herbs de Provence is, because I've been wanting to use it more, but I had no idea what actually was in it. And it's interesting and not surprising that lavender is in there.
Yeah, exactly. It's very French.
Right. Yeah. Question, Julia, in terms of those staples, do you have anything on your website or social media where you talk about some of that? Because I think it could be really helpful for people as they connect to you moving ahead.
Yeah, I actually don't, but I'm working on something. But people can just like message me directly. I'll respond to anything. Like I said, don't have anything much going on right now. But I'm on Wednesday. It's actually something that I don't know enough about, and I've been wanting to learn. So my culinary school teacher is going to be doing a live with me and teaching me how to properly store things in the fridge. Because I noticed that I had all of these like wilted leaves of cilantro and kale, and in my like actual veg drawers, just like carrots and apples and celery, and everything's kind of mixed together. And I wanted to know like the proper way of storage to have my things last longer. So I will be doing that video because I need the help, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. And I feel like right now is the time where you want to prolong produce and prolong the shelf life of things. So I will be like, I don't think I should be having all of my nightshades together. Like, I have my artichokes, my eggplant, and all of my cherry tomatoes in one shelf, and I feel like that might not be a good thing. So for anyone who wants to tune into that, it'll be Wednesday at 5. And then I will make up like a pantry staple list, and I'll post it on my website.
That's perfect. Yeah, and I have the same problem. We always have wilted stuff in the fridge, and I can never figure out what's
Exactly.
going
So I will now know, and I will tell all of you how.
on. Awesome. Yay. Well, any last, parting words about either the wonderful cabbage lentil recipe or anything else that you want to leave our viewers with as they embark on more and more cooking in the coming weeks?
Yes, so much cooking, which is amazing. Um, I discovered, for people who are like terrified of cooking, I actually discovered this new thing called a June oven. Never heard of it before. I was on a Zoom call last week and this girl was ranting about it. Basically, it's a countertop oven that has a built-in camera live stream to your phone of how your food is cooking. And you put in the dish and it somehow knows what it is. So it's like, chicken has been put in. What would you like to do with this chicken? Or like you press cookies and it asks you what type of cookie and it sets its own time and all of these things. It's like a super smart oven. So I thought that was something interesting that I've learned this week. A parting thing is that food is love and nourishment. And I think that if you put love into it, that love is then received by the person who is eating it. So we should all just send all the love we have into our food.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Julia. This was amazing.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. I feel like I also think it's how we show ourselves love and compassion lately is by cooking well for ourselves in this time of social isolation. So thank you so much for the cooking demo. And I would love to share the, even though it's a pretty simple recipe, the recap of the recipe.
Yeah, I'll totally email it over to you guys.
Yeah, so we'll be sure to do that, to share that out with everyone. And Susan sends apologies. Her audio cut out like a moment ago, so she can't, she can see you, but yeah, Zoom, I think everybody's trying to use it, has occasional glitches. So Susan sends her apologies that way. But this was great. Thank you so much. And where can you do a recap of where everyone can find you on social media and your website?
Yes. So everything is Health Chef Julia. My Instagram is @HealthChefJulia, and my website is healthchefjulia.com. And then starting on Tuesdays, I'll be releasing a new YouTube video on my YouTube channel. And they're all gonna be like cooking videos. So there'll be a bunch of recipes over there. And I've been just doing lots of different little lives every couple days with things that can help us. So today I did a live with a physical therapist who is helping us virtually set up our workstations. So like when you're working from home, you notice that you're not sitting at a desk, you're on a couch. So like we can all become sore, uncomfortable, and all the things. So just try to keep everyone on my social media kind of around and not overwhelmed with things. So tune in for all sorts of things, not just recipes.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think all of us have to focus on how we can help people right now.
Yeah.
So that's great. Well, thank you so much. This is amazing. And we always end our show with a quote from Mary Oliver, who's a favorite poet of mine and many people's. And that quote is, "What will you do with your one wild and precious life?" So I think it's sort of a call to action. What can we each do right now to try to live our best lives amidst, what's going on out there and going on internally. So thank you so much. We will see you tomorrow for our next episode. And we're very excited to host these each day at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And the recordings go on YouTube the night of. So you'll be able to see Julia's recording on YouTube later. So thank you so much, everybody.